Her hand was still trembling. An unpleasant burning sensation persisted. The dark burn on her palm sharply contrasted with her soft, light-toned skin. Her jaw clenched with such force from the feelings raging inside her that a grinding of teeth could be heard. Her eyes were fixed on that blemish. It was like a reminder of her failure. Images of the events that had just transpired flashed through her mind. She had been forced to run. Her. And yet she was the one responsible for this territory. She was the one who was supposed to maintain order. Her brother had entrusted her with this task. It was a test of her abilities, and it was very important to her. But today, she had suffered a defeat. Never before had she experienced such humiliation. But even that wasn't the most painful part. What was more important? Her servants. Servants she had spent so long gathering and training. How dare they treat her precious servants like that? Her hand passed over the head of the newly turned boy resting on her knees. He had suffered particularly badly today, but it was all right. She would get him back on his feet. As she was lost in thought, her gaze caught the silhouette of a young man sitting on the sofa. His tension was visible. His hands were clasped together with such force that his knuckles were white, and his eyes burned with fire. Ah, Kiba. She could understand him. It wasn't easy for him right now, considering who the enemies likely were. Nearby on the sofa lay the small figure of the white-haired girl. Koneko still hasn't woken up. It was good that her wounds weren't too serious. She should regain consciousness soon. A groan came from the other sofa. Her longest-standing partner had finally come to. Akeno, are you all right? Yes, Rias. Everything's fine, she whispered back. I managed to suppress part of the attack's force at the last moment. They caught me off guard. She finally sat up. Her eyes fell on her friend's hand. Rias, you're wounded. Wait, that burn? Is that from the power of light? It's nothing, Akeno. It will heal soon, she replied belatedly. A flash of blue light cut through the room's gloom, and a transfer circle materialized. On the floor, the crest belonged to the Seatree house. Sona. A refined girl with a dark, short haircut, glasses, and stern gaze appeared in the room. Rias, what did you cause in the city? Do you even realize how much trouble it will be to cover up the traces? She exploded with criticism. But she quickly assessed the situation. An oppressive atmosphere reigned in the room. Rias, what happened? Her gaze turned cold. Not only your servants, but even you are wounded. It strongly resembles a burn from the power of light. Her fingers adjusted her glasses elegantly. Spill it. That's the main problem, Sona. I didn't understand anything myself. She tiredly closed her eyes and began recalling the events.
Rias was at the club as usual, staying late. Suddenly, an alarm signal came through her connecting channel with her servants. Someone was attacking a member of her clan. All her current servants were accounted for, which meant, oh no, it must be that boy. The one she had turned a couple of days ago but hadn't had time to take in yet. Who would have thought he'd run into new trouble so quickly? There was no time to delay, and she instantly teleported to the scene with her servants. Who dared to touch my servant? In the same second, she saw a fallen angel. How dare they attack my servant on my own territory? Their audacity is infuriating. Rias was about to put that winged wretch in his place. However, the situation seemed strange. From the forest part came automatic gunfire? What? Is he not alone here? Kiba, the fallen is yours. Kaneko, deal with the people hiding in the forest. Akino, go higher and scout the area. Maybe there's someone else nearby. Having given the orders, she approached her newly acquired servant. What a terrible wound. Light is very dangerous for the newly turned. She needed to do something quickly. She applied a recovery spell, keeping an eye on the situation. As expected, Kiba immediately began pushing back the fallen. Kiba had a model-like appearance, and many girls at school were crazy about him, but Rias knew that wasn't his main asset. He was a serious guy with a troubled past, and most importantly, he was reliable. No wonder he was her knight. He was the most technical and fastest of her servants. But the strange thing was, he couldn't finish off the fallen. Under normal circumstances, the fallen wouldn't have been a threat at all, but he wasn't alone. The bursts of automatic fire didn't stop for a second, and Kiba came under attack. It shouldn't have been a threat to him, but he had to work hard to dodge. They're capable of wounding him? Are they enchanted? The crackle of breaking trees came from the forest park, followed by sounds of gunfire and explosions. Boom, boom, boom. That was Koneko's work. Right, no need to worry. Whoever these people were, her rook Koneko would handle her task. Koneko was a petite girl, an idol for the first years. Her short white hair and cold demeanor made her popular at school. Rias was glad she was finally recovering from her tragic past. Life was returning to her eyes. She intentionally gave her more opportunities to prove herself, like now, and Koneko never failed. As her rook, she possessed incredible endurance and strength. For her, any bullets and explosives are nothing. They stand no chance against her. The crackle of lightning came from above. Does Akino also have guests? Akino was her age, a black-haired beauty. She was her oldest and most loyal friend. They met under very unusual circumstances, and her roots were not so simple. Her character tended to manifest in the worst possible way, especially when dealing with fallen angels. And she was also her strongest piece, her queen. Who are they? What is the goal of these people? It doesn't look like they're working with the fallen. Her reflections were interrupted by the crackle of breaking trees. Branches and clumps of earth flew into the air. The trunks of the forest park began falling one after another, like a domino, as if some giant had decided to sprint through the forest without bothering to go around obstacles. And in the next second, a miniature figure flew past her eyes. Short white hair flashed in her field of view. She slid across a small clearing on the asphalt. Rias couldn't believe her eyes. Koneko? The next moment, a massive figure appeared from behind a pile of trunks, encased head to toe in dark armor. In the moonlight, it had a silver sheen. What? A sacred gear user? Rias felt his heavy gaze on her. The tension emanating from the giant silhouette was felt on an instinctive level. A shiver ran down her spine. She felt it. He was not a simple opponent. Rias inwardly tensed, concentrating her power of destruction. The opponent laid the first move. By deeply bowing, "Forgive me, this is Ane-san's order." He seemed genuinely regretful for sending Kaneko to swallow asphalt dust. He's quite polite. A strange thought crept into her mind. Apology, not accepted. Koneko knitted her brows, bit her lip, and rushed back at him. She was furious. Rias finished applying the spell and looked at their fight. She couldn't believe the scene unfolding before her. Koneko, using her miniature build, slipped under the giant's side and delivered an upward blow. This was a rook strike, capable of easily overturning a truck with her available demonic energy and physical strength. This should have happened to her opponent too. Thud. The clang of armor sounded, but this polite guy didn't even flinch. He grabbed her arm and said, "Pardon." Koneko flew into the air like a toy doll. Bang. She was slammed into the ground with such force that a crater formed. Boom. The guy delivered another powerful blow from above, driving the figure into the ground. The tremor reached even Rias. Koneko? Anger at the brute and armor and worry for Koneko mixed into a single cocktail. Jumping to her feet, she concentrated the power of destruction and released it at the dark figure. No matter how polite he was, she could not tolerate such treatment of her servant. But something strange happened. His armor was covered in a dark haze, and her power of destruction, which fell upon him in a dark wave, simply vanished. What? The guy quickly disappeared into the forest. What the hell is going on? Rias dug Koneko out of the ravine, the result of the giant's fine handiwork, and dragged her to Issei. Strange. Despite the force put into the blow, she wasn't seriously harmed. Konako was only unconscious. The sounds of battle echoed from the sky. The area was filled with the crackle of Akino's lightning. The roar and frequency of the explosions reached such a point that it was impossible to assess the situation. Who are they? Is even Akino in trouble? Her thoughts were interrupted by a new painful cry. Ah! Kiba fell to one knee, clutching his shoulder. Streaks of blood ran down him. What? He was hit? Kiba! The fallen angel stood aside, and he also had several piercing wounds mixed with sword cuts. All right, I'll leave this time, he shouted and disappeared in a flash of teleportation. She didn't care about the fallen. Ryas looked closely at Kiba's wounds. How did they even manage to hit him? Ryas ran up to him and blocked a new stream of bullets. They were clearly not ordinary, both in speed and power, but they all evaporated, disappearing in the black flashes of the barrier powered by her power of destruction. There were many flashes, as if a swarm of insects had attacked. Covering Kiba from the rain of lead, she moved him to the others. Anger flared within her like a wildfire as she looked at the state of Kiba and Konako. How dare they? I don't care who they are. This will not be unpunished. Bang! Such a deafening explosion sounded from above that even Ryas's ears were ringing. Looking up, she couldn't believe her eyes. Her friend's figure was falling to the ground. Akino? That was the last straw. Kiba, take care of Akino. In that very moment, a massive power of destruction poured out of Ryas. Unforgivable. I will reduce you all to dust. Not a single one will escape. Her dark energy surged into the air and crashed down on the forest park like a tsunami. It engulfed a significant area and absorbed everything within. This was the end. The power of destruction, the absolute force of annihilation, passed down through the bloodline of Baal, the first of the 72 pillars of demonic families. Everyone knew that once something fell under its influence, it ceased to exist. A power considered one of the most dangerous in the demonic world. The energy dissipated. All that was visible was a spacious wasteland. The expected result. No one dared to harm her servants, whoever it was. Or so it should have been. In the center of the wasteland, the familiar figure of the giant could be seen. He towered amidst the barren plain. Dark streams of smoke spread from under his armor. It had taken on such an inky shade that it completely merged with the night landscape. Did he block even that? To say Ryas was in shock was an understatement. Who is he? To block this attack of hers, only high-class demons were capable of such a thing. And as for humans, only very rare exceptions. It was simply unthinkable. Screams were heard behind him. Several figures in dark suits lined up behind the giant. It was obvious that he had taken the full force of her attack. Another dark, miniature figure swooped down to the ground from above. Her height was even smaller than Konako's. Quite tiny. Approaching the giant, she placed her palm on his armor. He slumped to the ground, causing a new wave of wails, but she snapped at them, and after a while they calmed down. Then they dragged the guy back. Is that their leader? Following her, two more figures emerged from the shadows. Both appeared to be girls. One held a strange ancient rifle, the other a silver blade. More secret gear users? Ryas was confused. The leader's figure turned towards Ryas and gave an evaluating look, and she looked particularly intently at the new servant. Ryas frowned. The more she watched her actions, the stronger the flame of anger grew. Ryas looked at Akino's condition, everything clenched inside her. It doesn't matter what's happening, not now, because they dared. You dared to attack my servants. I will incinerate you, destroy you. Not even ashes will remain of you. The power of destruction surged within her with a new wave. She didn't care who that guy in the armor was. He was clearly at his limit. Now she was sure that nothing could save them. Anger gave her strength. Power responded to her fury. She released as much force as she could at once and directed it at the target. You will feel the wrath of the Princess of Ruin. A dark shroud obscured the sky and the moon. The world was colored in the black tones of ruin, and in the next moment it crashed down on a small area. Suddenly, a small sun flared in the ocean of darkness. The light was blinding. Her eyes were burning. New and new waves of light spread outwards, piercing through the shroud of darkness. And to her ears came such familiar and hateful fragments of phrases. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Rias, this is a very serious matter. Sona looked at her strictly, adjusting her glasses again. Especially if they are as strong as you say. A group of unknowns in this city, and even you couldn't handle them. Maybe you should tell your brother about this. Rias frowned. No, Sona, not my brother. Otherwise everything will end as usual. No, I must handle this myself. As you rightly pointed out, a group of unknowns is in the city, and they are strong. The girl replied to her friend with a firm gaze. But this time, they only caught me off guard. I will not make such a mistake again. And most importantly, no circumstances change the fact that they dared to carry out their schemes on my controlled territory. No way. I must sort everything out myself. Sona merely shook her head. Ah, Rias, you are always true to form. All right, let's put that aside for now. What did you manage to find out about them? Since they used light, do you think it's the church? I don't know what to think. On the one hand, yes, but on the other, only their leader used light. The rest, however, firearms with enchanted bullets, but there was no power of God in them, and the enchantment technology is different. Plus, there were a few more sacred gear users, and they are definitely not exorcists. The church works differently. Indeed strange. But light is mainly used by the church and the fallen. A connection between them is not excluded. Her friend frowned. Yes, the probability is indeed high. Rias nodded, especially considering that prayer. All right, I understand you. Sona sighed. Fine, I won't report this to Sir Cheksama, nor my sister. She tiredly closed her eyes. If only she finds out about this. Indeed, if Leviathan Sama finds out that some dangerous individuals are lurking near her beloved Sona-chan. Rias and Sona belong to the highest aristocratic houses of the demonic world. Rias, the heiress of the Gremory house, the 56th demonic family. Sona, the heiress of the Sikri house, the 12th demonic family. Both their families are highly respected in the demon world and hold special influence even among all 72 demonic pillars, not to mention who their respective brother and sister are. The girls had been friends since childhood and were aware of each other's unique circumstances. Oh, please, don't continue. She waved her hand. All right, I won't interfere in this matter. But Rias, there must be no more such commotion. She gave her a menacing look. But if you need help, just say the word. Only those words hung in the air as she disappeared in a bluish flash of teleportation. Rias, what are you planning to do if they want this boy? Aquino pointed at Issei. Of course I'm not going to hand him in. I spent 8 pawn pieces on him, and they're hunting him for a reason. There's something strange about all this. Rias pondered. So, it's decided. I'll keep him close to me, and then everything will become clear. And his wounds need to be fully healed. She stood up from the sofa. What are you going to do? I'm going to his house. She picked up her newly acquired servant. The room illuminated with a teleportation spell. Aquino, look after the others.